Stupid camera sizes. I mean, I'm a little close to you.
Yeah, now you know, man. I see. Now you're live, man. That was hot mic. Hot mic. All right, this is today's episode of the Spin Cycle. Andrew Southwick, R.C. Williams, Juliana Ormond with you once again. If you're watching vertical, you are seeing half of Juliana and half of RC, because either A, our streamer doesn't allow me to change that aspect ratio or the setup of the shot, or, which is probably more true, I don't know how. So if there's somebody out there who knows how, leave it in the comments. Don't call me names. I already know that I'm an idiot. Just leave me how to do it. All right. Anyway, we got a ton to talk about today. Let me dive in here. Oh, I forgot to share my screen. Hold on just a second. While I'm doing that, RC and Juliana, how are you?
Fantastic.
Doing great, my friend. I am actually working on sharing from Juliana's page on Facebook to my page on Facebook. So I was hard at work there.
Hard at work?
Yes. Yeah. So we're doing great, Andrew. You know, it's another day in the business. And I think each day that goes by, we realize the importance of just coming on and doing something like the Spin Cycle, because there's so much that happens. People need to know.
Well, it was 10 years ago today that I wrote on Facebook saying that I learned that in my county alone, we had 1,900 homeless children. And I was like, what? Like, I was just like, there was a before that moment and after that moment where it just put me into a mode of, I'm going to advocate for what's going on in my community, because I just couldn't believe that my daughter was going to school with so many homeless children. I'm like, that's just not right. Amen. So I'm really glad that we're doing the Spin Cycle.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting when you posted that on Facebook today, Juliana, a couple of people from different states are like, I want to do, how do we do that? How do I do Watchman Action? And it's amazing how quickly that happens when we make statements, which is what we talk about on Culture Crossroads. Yeah. And what we talk about on the Spin Cycle. Say something, do something, and people will come behind you, ask you lots of great questions, and want to get active.
Yeah. Well, let's say something here. How about this? Let me fix that, because that's a horrible look. There we go. Shocking. 105 million Americans are not working more than COVID or the Great Recession. This is from the New York Post. The number of adults who are not in the labor force, NILF, surged to an all-time high in June of, I'm not laughing at that, I'm laughing at, never mind, to of 105.8 million. 105.8 million. Why can't I talk today? Oh my gosh. 105.8 million, according to figures from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. The record. Oh my goodness. I see, you're going to have to take over. I cannot talk to the record. Oh, the record comes. The record comes after a massive surge. Oh, geez. A massive surge of 832,000 workers dropping out of the labor force in June alone. Sorry. The number of MILFs, oh my gosh, is higher. I can't do it. I see what's going on with this. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. So this is the great. So guys, actually, this is what happens behind the scenes when we do Culture Crossroads. You just don't get a chance to see it in the final cut, which is why it's so great that we're live. So Andrew, on this story, which is not funny, this is something that we've talked about really in the 3 years almost that we've done Culture Crossroads, even back to the Biden administration. What happens economically when there's instability, eventually that will catch up with you. And we do some simple economic math because we're not economists, which makes us more practically speaking accurate than most economists. Is we've said anytime that the cost of living outpaces the rise in salaries or wealth, things can only end one way. And Andrew, it's interesting what we're seeing here. There are so many people out of work, kind of feels Great Depressionist as we come up on 100 years since the Great Depression. But what I've also seen is this trend of ghost jobs. So companies will post jobs to LinkedIn or whatever. A bunch of people apply. Like every time you go and you look at a LinkedIn job, it could be done 2 minutes and there's like 100 applications, which I think LinkedIn's doing something wonky with their algorithm. Another story for another time. But you end up hearing these stories that people say, well, they never called anybody back. It was just like it was a ghost posting to meet some type of equal opportunity or employment opportunity requirement, which is a sad state of affairs. But many companies are laying off And what's left out there, you really can't make a living off of. So, Andrew, we're in a place where we talk a lot about the rubber meeting the road, or when the chickens come home to roost. We're at one of those moments, and people can feel however they want to feel about President Trump and the administration and the economy or whatever. The numbers don't lie. If there are 105 million people in the United States who are not working, that's almost a third of the entire population. That would be more people unemployed than were unemployed during the Great Depression.
The article notes that this startling figure is even higher than the percentage of Americans over 16 in full-time education, which is between 16 and 18%. And if you look here, hopefully you can see, can you see my cursor here in this graph? Hopefully you can. I'm looking at a different screen. Right at the top, this is at 2000. This was our peak employment right here. But notice this trend line ever since. And this dip here is 2020. So that's COVID. And here's where we are now, so lower since COVID. But notice this line going this way. This is a trend that is a quarter century in the making. COVID's a part of that, but we are clearly going a certain direction when it comes to employment in America. What do you think is undergirding that?
Andrew, I mean, people can't afford things. So this is cyclical, right? Companies say, hey, our goal is to make more money and deliver shareholder value. I'll once again quote the amazing Ross Perot when he said, the reason that I want to pay people and I want them to be successful is so that they have enough money that they don't come and take my stuff.
Tell them about the Restaurant Depot story, about how we went to Restaurant Depot 30 days ago and how much more expensive everything is right now.
Right. So here at Watchman Action, we go to Restaurant Depot. We like to go where the restaurants buy their stuff because you can get it in nuclear size and save some money. Here's the interesting thing. 2 things that we bought recently, Andrew, maple syrup. Right? So maple syrup was $21, a large container, 30 days ago. Went this past weekend, $25. Box of lemons. Juliana, lemon juice. She does her thing, right? She looks wonderful. So she does her thing. Last month, bought a box of lemons, $45. Bought a box of lemons this month, $55. So this is happening to everyone all over. I'm sure what I just said, everybody has their own personal story, and that's important.
That's theft from the children. At the end of the day, it's the children that suffer because of that kind of inflation, that kind of monetary theft.
And I'm sorry, hold on that thought. One of the notes, I zoomed in on the screen. Hopefully you can see it. Thank you for letting me know it needed to be bigger in the comments there. But one of the things to note in this is that a large proportion of men are just quitting the search altogether. So we're seeing a lot of, and some of the numbers being counted in this are people in the workforce actively working, or people actively searching for a job. So they might be underemployed, but they're trying to get back into their career or a light career, and people are just giving up. They're giving up, and you can see again. I got to go back to this. Before we say this is Trump's fault, this is Biden's fault. This is an American policy fault, because it is, again, this is something that started happening in 2000. You can see the high water mark right there at the year 2000, and it is going steadily down. And here we are in 2026. RC, continue.
Yeah, Andrew. So, I mean, Ross Perot said it. He said, listen, I want people to be abundant, and I want there to be jobs in plenty, because that's one less person that's going to try to rob my house. Right? When people are abundant and they can afford to live, they do things, they spend money. So now we're seeing the cycle come around where you have the filthy money pigs. And listen, we're capitalists. There's nothing wrong with making money and creating jobs. That is necessary. But it gets to the point where corporations will do anything to increase shareholder value, including sacrificing the very thing that makes them money.
The middle class.
The middle class, right? So they cut jobs, they do these things. The quality of the product suffers, but even then, people can't afford to buy it. So then it doesn't sell. So then what happens? The price of everything goes down. Or they say, look, well, we just can't, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to cut more people. We're going to cut more of this. And before you know it, even the shareholder value is no longer there, because people can't afford to buy the stuff that drives the shareholder value, that drives the value of the company and creates jobs. It's a nasty cycle. And part of this, Andrew, I think, is you're seeing the giant sucking sound really kind of play itself out over a longer time horizon than I believe Ross Perot believed in, or the hucksters who pitched us NAFTA really understood. I don't really think they understood the ramifications. Al Gore, if you're listening, this is what happens when you're a filthy money pig grifter. Just saying. So sue me. But I mean, Andrew, here we are, right? Chickens come home to roost. We're now at a point where we're out of ramp. And when you see people giving up, I'm so glad that this number includes people who have just given up on looking for a job. You get a chance to peel back and see the ugly, nasty truth about where we're actually at.
Especially when you know that many families are not just 2-income families, they're 3 and 4 income families.
Yep.
And sometimes that 3 and 4 income falls maybe on one person if it's a single parent home, or it might be 3 incomes for one spouse, one for another, depending on how their home is set up. And I'm not casting any aspersion on that, but you're really seeing the devaluing of our currency, the constant deficit spending, the erosion of our purchasing power, and then coupled with policies both domestically and internationally that are raising prices no matter what. And it's all come to this mess. All right, let's move on to this story. Speaking of grifters, OpenAI. Apparently an agent went rogue and hacked a startup by itself, OpenAI reveals. That's the company behind ChatGPT. They say an agent cheated an evaluation by attacking a Hugging Face database. Oh, they have such cute names for these things. The company behind ChatGPT said the startup Hugging Face, this is from The Guardian, the startup Hugging Face had detected and contained the agent, an AI tool designed to carry out tasks without human assistance, which had entered its systems. It hacked a prominent startup by itself in a, quote, unprecedented incident. We could have never seen this coming. I don't know. Could you see it coming? I really don't know.
Yeah, most certainly, Andrew, you could see it coming. Now, we use AI tools, obviously, right? Claude is building something right now on the Sherlock side for us. So yes, they will work autonomously. They'll work. You can watch them on your screen if you want, or you can just put them to work and go on about your business and increase your efficiency. What's dangerous here, Andrew, goes back to the guy who's running OpenAI now, who basically stole it and flipped it to a for-profit, Sam Altman. Once you understand who you're dealing with, and we've written extensively on Sam Altman, WorldCoin, and all of his ventures at We Are the Watchmen Weekly. If you want to go and just search for his name, you'll find multiple pieces where we wrote about the fact that the moral compass in someone like that is almost non-existent. That leadership is going to carry over. Like, he almost got caught a couple of months ago saying, well, look, it's going to be bad, but not that bad, and you really shouldn't worry about it because it's going to control you. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but in essence, that's what he said. And it's not the first time that he said it. But if you want to go back and look at his interview with Tucker Carlson, when he gets asked a hard question, he pulls his best Peter Thiel. He's like, tick, 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 like the AI is broken, right? But this is what happens when the governance isn't there, Andrew, and when we underestimate the things that we create. Right? This isn't the first time this has happened. It's one of the first times that it's been publicized.
Right.
And it most certainly will not be the last time it happens. Anthropic and some of the other groups have gotten together and gone to governments around the world and said, listen, we do want to put some parameters in place. We need to here. There needs to be a system before we release anything too powerful out to the public, because we can't control it. And so we need your help. But I mean, it almost feels like it's par for the course, Andrew. Anytime we hear OpenAI or ChatGPT, it always seems like it's something bad.
Yeah, and the other thing I think people should know about OpenAI, and again, I'm for AI as well. I'm pro innovation and technological innovation. Some of the tools are a benefit. I think obviously the way it's being marketed is complete nonsense. The you get to the data centers, how much how much data they want to store, how large they are, the energy concerns, the water concerns, and of course the cost concerns. And by the way, one of the reasons why you can subscribe to a ChatGPT or a Claude for relatively inexpensive compared to other subscriptions is because it's being massively subsidized by the government. This cannot continue. If you and I believe, Julianne, I think you mentioned off air here that ChatGPT is they're underwater. If they're really in terms of their revenue, they are coming in tens of millions underneath where they need to be.
Yeah, Andrew. I mean, there are some reports that OpenAI is going to miss their revenue targets by 90%.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And they said, look, a great way to do this is we're just going to put ads into the chats and the conversations that you have with ChatGPT. On the surface, there isn't necessarily anything wrong with that, but it's almost like, here we go again with you misunderstanding your audience in doing something like that. I think the last thing they want, whether they're paying or not, is the intrusive ads. It's already kind of creepy as it is sometimes. There were much more effective ways to do that same thing, and I think we see now that they're going to learn real fast that ain't going to work, and people aren't as enthusiastic about that, even though you have a big audience, as OpenAI may have thought.
This is a very difficult day for me to speak.
Crazy.
I
just want to say, when is enough? Like, how much money does an organization need to have? Like, how much money is being siphoned to what politicians, to what, CEOs and whatnot? Where's all this money going to? That they're taking all the money from us. That's our tax money. If we're subsidizing them, we're paying for our own imprisonment. I mean, I don't understand. Like, at what point do people not stand up and go, we're paying for them to build something that we know is going to imprison us, the people? Well, I'm against this.
Most of it, though, I don't think is profit. Most of it is the cost of doing it on that scale. We don't have in America, for example, the way China has a surveillance system already. So one of the reasons why they have an advantage in the AI race is they don't have to build all the infrastructure for the surveillance system. They have it already. So now they can focus on efficiency, which is what they're doing. And in fact, I heard a report yesterday, listened to a report yesterday. There are some areas where they are taking leaps and bounds in terms of the technological innovation. Now, we clearly have, 5,000, in the thousands more data centers than they do. We'll probably always have the largest ones, blah, blah, blah. But it's not so much, I don't think it's as much about profit as it is the cost of what it takes to have such a surveillance state and such an embedded surveillance state. And they're trying to figure out how to do that. So, and so in the meantime, what they do is, well, let's get it in right now. And let's get everybody hooked on this. Let's get as much of our infrastructure dependent on this right now so that we can then have an excuse to deficit spend, to eminent domain, take people's land, to do X, Y, and Z in order to get this across. Because if we actually told people what we wanted to do in the light of day, they would never do it. And we know they would never do it, because that's why you see people out in the streets taking down flock cameras left and right. Americans don't want the infrastructure they're building. We don't mind the technological innovation, but we can see what this is actually doing, because the only reason you would need whatever the 500 gig or whatever data center that is for surveillance. You don't need that for computing power, as far as I've learned, but you would if you're going to house information about every single American, about every single second of their every single day. And that is wildly expensive. However, they're willing to pay that price because what they get in return is control over us, and that is worth far more than any price they would have to pay.
So unfortunately, I don't remember which article that I read it from, but they were talking about the technology that we're using in the United States is like old technology, because China now is burying their stuff in the ocean. So they have newer technology that they're using. So I want to say, what's the ruse? Like, what's really going on? Why is it like this? Right?
That's a great point. A lot of the technology we're gonna beg people to invest in today, and that's one of the reasons why I think they're having a hard time with it, is because it's going to be obsolete in 3 years when anything comes to fruition. So it's the model for this, the massive hyperscale expansion doesn't work in any realm without 90% government surplus, government subsidies, which is why they have tax abatements and all kinds of other stuff. It doesn't work unless the government's propping it up. Now, and again, we have to remember, the benefit, I say that loosely, but the reason why your ChatGPT subscription, your pro subscription is $20 a month is because 90% of that is being paid for via tax dollars that we haven't even earned yet. Just understand. And again, that's the way it is. And there's value to some of those tools, but that's the current model. That has to change before that collapses as well. Okay. Yeah. Let us move on. A quick update here. Section 219. We've talked about this before. This is the proposal to merge Israel's army with the United States Army. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be sharing barracks rooms, everything like that in terms of soldiers. It has a lot more to do with technology sharing, information sharing, training, tactics, weapons, weapons productions, et cetera, et cetera. Either way, and I did do a monologue on this on the Sunday show, Culture Crossroads. I need to post that on YouTube, actually. I have forgotten to do that. But, and I go through that in detail there. That vote is scheduled for today in the House. Now, from what I understand, it's expected to pass the House. The problem, again, will be in the Senate. And there are some senators, aka Thomas Massie and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who oppose the sharing of that information. And so it's going to be hard to reconcile the House version with the Senate version. Nonetheless, that House vote is happening today. Depending on the result of that and what news comes out of it, we'll have to give you that update tomorrow because it's not here right now. However, speaking of military, President Donald Trump recently on his Truth Social promised that he would, threatened, this from Politico, retaliatory strikes on key Iranian infrastructure as the conflict escalates. He proclaimed that any type of Iranian attack on vessels traveling through the Strait of Hormuz would trigger a corresponding American strike on key infrastructure. Bombing civilian infrastructure like power plants is generally recognized internationally as a war crime. The reason why is because civilians depend on the power generated by those power plants. But it's not the first time a president has threatened to carry out such strikes. Trump has previously used this rhetoric to push Iran to reopen the strait. That lasted a really long time. The Geneva Conventions prohibit strikes on infrastructure acknowledged to be, quote, indispensable to the survival of the civilian population. After the Washington brokered ceasefire fell apart in June, by the way, 4 seconds after we signed it, the U.S. escalated its military campaign, launching continuous strikes on Iranian targets for 11 days. We're on that day right now. Iran has targeted American military bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan. 4 service members were killed over the weekend, bringing the total of American troop casualties to an estimated 18 deaths. The announcement comes amid Trump's claims that the midterm elections will not affect his war plan with Iran, I guess pushing back on the idea that some have floated that perhaps President Trump is trying to maneuver the war into the best position possible because he knows the midterms are coming. What say you?
I'm going to start because I am so angry. I am so angry for all of the children that are being impacted by this. I mean, we're talking about like starvation. We're talking about children being vulnerable. We're talking about them, being isolated. How is this possible? Because people, America, if they're doing it over there, they can do it over here. If we're not having empathy for the other children, for the women and what they're going through, how would you expect the world to come and have some empathy for us? Who's going to come to our aid? Who's going to help us? If that starts happening in America, nobody's going to come. So what are we doing about this? I mean, honestly, we have to take a look at this and say, what's going on with the children? Where are the children? What's happening to the children? Oh my gosh.
Juliana, I share your indignation, but I think here's the reality to that though. Okay. When you look at what we as a nation fund, for example, we're the largest funders of abortion worldwide. Why, if we're willing to murder a child in the womb, why would we care about them in a place we're trying to bomb for reasons we still can't articulate, for a goal no one can explain?
Because the church hasn't stood up.
If we care about the children, why do we? And why are there still elements trying to push, meatball surgeries and mutilating our children when they come into prepubescence and are confused about life or maybe do have some genuine mental issues that can resolve, but they need treatment, not mutilation. We don't care. As a nation, we have, and then when you come to war, listen, there's money to be made in war. There's money to be made in abortion. There's money to be made in gender mutilation surgery. There's money to be made there. That, honestly, I think that is the the hook, line, and sinker. That is the ball game. That's why we make money off those things. That's why they don't care. And when I say we, I mean, but this is not just an American problem. It's a global problem. I believe it's a spiritual problem. Obviously, we're believers here. And that's, I think that's a doctrine of demons that comes out of that, where children are burdened, so on and so forth. In fact, on the Sunday show Culture Crossroads, the Faith Focus is about how we see children as a burden and not a blessing in the world. We're talking about that, so you want to check that out. But when we can talk, we can say, how come you don't see this? How come you don't see that? But the truth is, we don't see it in our own country, and we do the same kinds of destruction. It just doesn't come with a bomb. It comes with a mail order pill paid for by your tax dollars.
And that is the reason why Father told me to tell his children that he gave them gifts and talents, and they are being judged for not using those gifts and talents. We're all watchmen. Everybody that's been watching RCNI and you, Andrew, they know what time it is. They know exactly what's going on. So when you know what's going on, you're obligated. You're obligated to go tell your brothers and sisters what's going on, because we're all watching. We see what's happening. So if you have gifts and talents that Father is giving you and you're not using them, he is judging you. You can't be sitting down. The reason why it looks the way it does, the way that we're being so passive about what's happening in these other countries, the reason why we're being so passive about allowing abortion up to birth. I mean, come on, how disgusting. It's because we've sat back and we've allowed this. The church, where have we been? We were told to shut up and sit down. Now we need to stand up, because we have lost territory. We have lost ground. The enemy is now seeing and doing things that we can't be sitting back and allowing to happen anymore.
Yes. Andrew, if I can take a moment, and this is going to sound funny, but please understand I am mocking leadership when I do this. A soliloquy from the past. Day 153 in the field, from the Civil War era, in language. My dearest, we continue to battle almost uselessly in this war of attrition. As we wait to be resupplied, what we cannot figure out is why our leaders cannot find their hindquarters from a hole in the ground. My love, I know not how long I will be stuck in the field, but this I can tell you. The people who have me here have absolutely no man's clue of what to do. I do hope to see your smiling face again soon, if they ever find their hindquarters from a hole in the ground. Love always, RC.
Yeah, I'm just going to let that marinate for a second. Hopefully the people got that. But yeah, it is true. Our leaders, but you know what? I hear something else. Again, another plug for our Sunday show, Culture Crossroads. The way that we have morphed our policy making and decision making at a government, at a national government level, federal government level, the way this is how we have turned what was set up for checks and balances into effectively smoke-filled back rooms, darkened corners. You have to pass it to see what's in it, all kinds of nonsense, big pork-bellied bills, wars without official, constitutional declarations of war, all kinds of things. The way we have morphed into this and settled it as a reality should tell you that it's not just even that our leaders don't know their rear ends from a hole in the ground. They don't care. They figured out the loophole, and this is how government operates. It's not a matter of, gee, why are they doing this? Why are they doing it? Because this is how it works. That is, I realize that's a huge tease for Sunday's show, and I will post that monologue and our response to it right away. But it's important that we understand we are being governed in a post-constitutional fashion. And we've been so for some time. And you can see, in fact, the economic effects of what that means. Because for the past 26 years, we have seen our unemployment go on a solid trajectory down, as we open the show with. That's a direct result of the policies that we are employing, the way we are spending, the market forces, the financial forces that we're crushing our small business owners with, the regulation, and then the government subsidies picking winners and losers, i.e. getting into bed with big tech, getting into bed with big pharma. And then, of course, the business of war. We're seeing all these things now, not just conflating together, but coming together and creating immense pressure. So you have a K-shaped economy, meaning the Wall Street stockbrokers and stock investors are doing great. You and I, not so much. And it's not that they don't know their tail from a hole in the ground. They don't care anymore, and they don't have to care because they believe they have figured out the loophole to the system and that we'll never hold them accountable. But it shows like this. It shows like Culture Crossroads, Watchman Action, among a few others. I'm not arrogant enough to say that we're the only ones saying this. The reason why it feels like that is because these are the kinds of messages that the algorithms and the powers that be on both the left and the right don't want to get out because we're calling bullcrap on both of them. All right, we are out of time. And that is 30 minutes. So we are going to step away. Remember, Culture Crossroads, you can find that on BEKTV.plus, BEKTV.plus, BEKTV.plus. Every Sunday, new episodes, every Sunday, 5 p.m. Central Time, that comes out. And we'll post that. Well, if I don't forget, which I did forget last week, but I won't forget this week, we'll post the clips and highlights on our YouTube channels and Facebook pages and so on. Remember, if you are watching us on our YouTube or Facebook channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. It helps the show. We genuinely appreciate it. And then RC, remind people where they can find Watchman Action.
Yeah, source for all things Watchman Action. Andrew, people can start at watchmanaction.org. All of our social medias are the same. It's at Watchman Action or the nearest facsimile. We are also on with the Watchman Action Network. That's on the Absolute Cable TV/Epic Network in North Dakota, channel 40. The spin cycle airs every weeknight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So you get your dose of a little bit of everything. And the Culture Crossroads airs on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern as well. So watchmanaction.org or find us on Absolute Cable TV/Epic channel 40.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll see you tomorrow. It's been the Spin Cycle.